There's an idea that sounds perfectly reasonable. Why don't airlines give every passenger a personal parachute? If something goes wrong, at least we could save ourselves. It feels humane, empowering, even a little heroic. But here's the uncomfortable truth. You're basically asking to pay more for one of the most useless items you could carry into the sky. And the funny part, a parachute doesn't defeat accidents. It defeats your feeling of helplessness. It's psychological comfort, not an engineering solution. Want to see how quickly this idea collapses when it meets reality? Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a small scenario. The plane is shaking violently. Warning lights flash. Oxygen masks drop. Children are crying. Adults are calling loved ones. Loose bags slide across the floor. Real tension fills the cabin. Now, picture asking 200 passengers, including an elderly person adjusting dentures, a 5-year-old child, someone asleep, and someone who's never exercised to correctly wear a parachute. Tighten every strap. Check every pin. Then line up and jump out one by one. Even professional paratroopers train for months to react correctly within seconds. They learn how to stabilize their bodies mid-air, deploy their parachutes at the right altitude, and handle tangled lines. Meanwhile, you're still searching for the seatbelt under your seat. Under panic, the human brain switches into fight or flight mode. Rational thinking drops. Fine motor skills decline. That's biology, not weakness. Adrenaline floods your system. Your heart races. Your hands shake. And your vision narrows. Do you really think you'd stay calm like a movie character? And here's another detail. An aircraft door isn't a wide balcony. Coordinating hundreds of people to jump within minutes is nearly impossible. Emergency response time is often measured in seconds. That's not a rescue plan. That's a chaotic circus in the stratosphere. But even if everyone were ninjas, another barrier still waits. A full parachute setup, including the pack, harness, and support gear can weigh around 10–15 kilograms. Doesn't sound like much. Multiply that by 180–200 passengers. You're suddenly talking about 2–3 tons of extra weight. That's roughly the mass of an Asian elephant. And the aircraft would have to carry that useless elephant on every single flight. More weight means more fuel consumption. More fuel means higher operating costs. And eventually, your ticket price goes up. All of that to prepare for a scenario with extremely low probability. Statistics show that most aviation accidents occur during takeoff and landing, when the aircraft is only a few hundred to a few thousand meters high. Parachutes need time and altitude to deploy and stabilize. At low altitude, you might jump out. The parachute barely opens, and the ground is already there. In other words, in the most dangerous moments, a parachute is unlikely to help. And at cruising altitude around 10 kilometers, you're facing -60°C temperatures, thin oxygen, and airspeed close to 900 kilometers per hour. An untrained person would have almost no chance. So who is the parachute really saving? Maybe it only saves your feelings. Humans like having choices. When you sit on an airplane, you don't hold the controls. You don't decide the direction. You simply sit there and trust the system. And that lack of control makes the brain uneasy. So the idea appears, give me a parachute. At least I can choose to jump. But the feeling of control isn't the same as real control. Aviation safety doesn't rely on every person for themselves. It relies on layers upon layers of protection. Pilots train for thousands of hours. Aircraft have redundant engines and backup systems. The airframe itself is designed to glide and land even without thrust. And do you know what the most common life-saving device on an airplane actually is? Not a parachute. It's the seatbelt across your waist. During a hard impact or emergency landing, that small strap keeps you from being thrown forward with hundreds of kilograms of force from inertia at landing speeds around 250 kilometers per hour. Your body wants to keep moving forward. The seatbelt simply says, stay right there. It's not flashy. It's not cinematic. But it works. So next time you fly and think, I wish there were parachutes. Look around the cabin. Every bolt, every aluminum panel, every procedure exists so that you never have to jump in the first place. A parachute sounds like freedom, but in aviation, jumping out is usually the worst possible option. And if the idea still feels tempting, maybe next time we should explore another question that sounds just as logical. Why are airplane windows oval instead of square? Trust me, the story behind that shape is another mix of illusion and reality that might change how you see everything.